Welcome to Education Today. My name's Chuck Garrett, and I'm your host. Today, my guest is Mr. Ricky Ford, President, Northeast Mississippi Community College, located in Boonville, Mississippi. Welcome, Coach. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, glad to have you. Right off the bat, I introduced you as Mr. Ricky Ford, and then I called you Coach. I know you coached for a good long while. Which do you hear the most around campus?
It varies, depends upon what crowd I'm in.
Yes, sir.
All my coaches on campus still refer to me as Coach.
Okay.
A lot of the faculty now, they refer to me as Dr. Ford or whatever. But it just varies depending on what crowd I'm in. If I'm out in the public, a lot of people still refer to me as Coach. And if I'm still around my former players, they definitely still call me Coach. But as I've told somebody previously, I've been called worse.
Most ex-coaches have.
Yes.
And current ones. You said Dr. Ford. I didn't know you had your degree.
Well, yes,
I'm so used to coaching Mr. that I didn't even know that.
To kind of give you a history here, of course, I'm from Northeast Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
I'm from Tippah County native. I graduated from Pine Grove High School, then went on to Northeast and left Northeast and went to Mississippi State. And then from there I went to Ole Miss and got my master's degree in education, and then just recently received my PhD from Christ College out of Florida in education and religious culture.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'll. Do you prefer any of the three? Whatever, as long as it's not a four-letter word.
I used to have an ego. I don't have an ego anymore, so it doesn't matter what you call me.
Okay. Well, I know that you're the brother of Jackie Ford, a gentleman with whom I worked for 10 and a half years.
Absolutely.
And I know he retired in the last couple of years from the New Albany School District. And I understand he's been a little under the weather. How's he doing?
Absolutely. Yes, he retired about a year ago, and he has experienced an illness of cancer, and he's been fighting that for the last 6 to 8 months, and hopefully when he goes back to the doctor, he'll get a good prognosis that everything is clear, and so we're hoping for that, and he's about through with his treatment, so we're hoping for the best.
Well, I wasn't aware until just recently, and I know anyone watching today, if you want to touch base with Mr. Ford, I'm sure he'd be tickled to hear from you.
Yes, he's doing well and did a fantastic job as your successor there, and so he had a great career.
I'm going to say there's not that many superintendent, president of the community college kind of relationships in our state.
Not quite, and if I may just take a moment just to share with you that the relationship that I have with all of our superintendents in all of our 5 counties is tremendous. Monthly we meet and we discuss, and I just like to listen to them discuss some of the problems that they have in K through 12, and it helps me to understand. And then, of course, we discuss some of the issues that we're having, and monthly we do that. So it gives us an opportunity just to share, so we'll both be on the same page when we're dealing with our kids and students, and ultimately that's the number one priority, taking care of our students.
Absolutely, and I know they appreciate you taking the time, because once a month doesn't seem like that much, but it is. I mean, if it's a standing meeting where you're making it a priority, it does cut into your time, and I know they appreciate you doing that.
We appreciate them, and I look forward to it every month, because it's just a good time where we can just lay back and no pressure and just share and talk about everything that's going on. And if I have issues or they have issues, we just talk about them and get them. Sometimes we get them hashed out, sometimes we don't.
Sometimes they're not hash-outable.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I know on a personal note, you're a pretty serious biker, jogger. I mean, tell everybody a little bit about that, because you're in great shape.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We, a few years ago, I guess, I went to the doctor and had high cholesterol and things like that. And I guess it's been 10 or 12 years ago. So I'd always been active, so I started running, and part of a group in Corinth, which we call the Lunatic Friends Runners, and it's a very hilly place that they run on. And I haven't been in a while, but I have completed about 8 marathons and several half marathons, and we have a half marathon scheduled for later on in October, and then some in the spring. So did get into running, did get into biking, and it's enjoyable. Plus health-wise, it's very beneficial. So, and the running community, as everyone knows, the running community is a close-knit group of people that are very supportive under any circumstances. And it doesn't matter if you run a 6-minute mile or a 15-minute mile, we're all supportive of each other. So that's what I like about it. And, it's not really competitive with each other. You compete against yourself, and kind of like that, because I'm still competitive.
Just an effort to stay healthy, stay in shape.
Absolutely.
Stay vibrant.
Yes.
And, I do a few things myself, but I have to say running and biking never appealed to me. I mean, is there an endorphin rush that happens, or is it kind of a social thing, or what makes it almost seem to some people, like outsiders like me, addictive?
Well, I think I can say yes to all the above. It's a great social thing. A lot of times, when I run early in the morning at 4 and 5 o'clock, it's you run alone because you don't have a lot of partners at that point in time. But the races, just meeting up with fellow runners and people that are active too. That's a big thing about it. But just out on the run yourself, you're challenging yourself, and sometimes you can push yourself, or if you don't feel like it, you can stop and walk. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah.
So I think just the companionship that you have with running, and just the friendships that you form, and just the bond that you form with fellow runners, that's great. But it gives you time to think.
Okay. And I know coming out of coaching, you probably worked with a lot of young people that you tried to get in shape, and so it's just kind of a nice transition.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, why don't you tell us, speaking of coaching, why don't you tell us a little bit about your job history? And I know I think you told me a little while ago you went to Northeast about 38 years ago, but why don't you back up and tell us about your job history?
Well, yeah, I graduated from Mississippi State in 1977 with a BS degree in education, and I went to Boonville High School and taught Biology 1, Biology 2, and that was back in the day when there weren't any assistant coaches. You taught 7 classes, and then you also went to practice, and you went to games and things like that. And so I stayed there at Boonville High School for 4 years. The first 2 years I coached women's basketball only. The last 2 years I coached men and women, both together. And then in 1981 I left Boonville High School and went to Northeast as a women's basketball coach. And that was a very good move for me because, just changing, and there's nothing wrong with Boonville. It's a great school and a great situation, but as coaches you want to move up the ladder and that type of thing. And so in 1981 began that career as coaching there, and I was very blessed with some great players, recruited some really good players, and were very, very successful at winning championships and those type things. So we were able to win a large number of championships, and including the national championship in 1987. So those memories will always speak out. But one of the highlights of my career in coaching was just to see the players achieve something, start out at one level, and then progress and move to another level and keep moving on up and on up until they get as far as they can go, and then watching the players enjoy some success from that, and that was huge. And I told probably the first 20 years I was in Northeast, I was the janitor, the trainer, the coach, and sometimes drove a bus. We did it all, as you well know. And I told the assistant coach we won a state championship one year, and the kids were out there and they were celebrating. And I told him, I said, that watching those kids celebrate, that's what it's all about. Watching the kids enjoy the success and reap some of the rewards of their hard work. So that's very rewarding to me to see the kids do that. And so then 2006, I had the opportunity to become the athletic director. A former New Albany native, David Carnell, was athletic director, and he retired, and so I was able to move up and become athletic director. So from 2006 through 2010, I was athletic director and women's basketball coach. And
that's had to be tough.
That was extremely difficult because you're in the middle of practice and coaches come in wanting questions, and you have to walk off the court of practice sometimes and just answer their question to help them out. And in 2010, I had the opportunity to become the Vice President of Student Services, which is Dean of Students. And so I took that job and got completely out of coaching, and still kept the athletic director responsibilities too along with that. So from 2010 to 2013, almost 13, that was my job responsibility. Then in 2013, I became the executive vice president under Dr. Johnny Allen. And then when Dr. Allen retired in 2015, then I was fortunate enough to move up and replace him as the 10th president of Northeast. So here we are now 4 years later, and still moving forward.
Well, I think people are very complimentary about the things you've been doing at Northeast and the growth at Northeast and the way and the programs that you've been initiating and your leadership. But I do want to say, it seems to me from watching that successful coaches who are able to build players, build teams, build programs, it's not that big a change to transition to do. The skills are the same, the ideas might be different. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think the thing that you have to do is just like in coaching, you must recruit really good players and surround yourself with really good players. And I'm kind of taking that philosophy into this position because we must recruit good employees.
Right.
We must surround ourselves with good people that are passionate about what your vision that you want, and that they are passionate about what they do. And then when you hire those people, it's just like an athlete. You recruit a good athlete, and then you let them play. And then when you hire a good employee that's good at something, and I'll bring out Will Kohlmeyer, for example, who's in charge of our marketing. He is a great player, and so I just get out of his way and let him do his job and let them know that I'm available to assist them in the process. And they understand what our vision is, what it is for our entire college, and then they have a specific role to play in it, and then they take that on with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, and a lot of enthusiasm. And that's what makes an institution. That's what makes any organization go. And it's just like a basketball team or a football team. You get good players, you instruct them, tell them what the vision is, and then get out of the way and let them play, and they will take on your instructions and move forward with it. So that's where we are, and I have to say that we are surrounded at Northeast with some tremendous employees that have adapted to the vision that we have put forward in front of them, being the iPad initiative, for example, which we'll talk about in just a moment. They were reluctant at the beginning, but they've grasped it and they've moved forward with it. And the success rate of our students has increased tremendously in every course that we're teaching. So so that's part of an organization, is just to get good people around you, and that's what we have. We have some great employees at Northeast that do a tremendous job.
Well, and they're very fortunate to have dedicated people.
Absolutely.
Fortunate, but you also did a great job going out and finding them.
Yeah. A lot of them were already there. Just needed a little bit of nurturing and encouragement and things like that, and they're all on board, and we're moving forward.
Well, you mentioned the iPad initiative. Why don't you go ahead and tell us kind of what you guys are doing in that regard?
We started this back in 2013, probably. My IT one of my IT people that was in charge of education came in, and we were talking about. It began with textbooks costing so much. It was getting outrageous. And we had outsourced our bookstore to another company, and they weren't really fulfilling the needs of our college and of our students, and the prices were getting enormous. Sometimes the books were late getting in for the students when school started, and so it was really becoming a nightmare. So we formed a partnership with Apple, and they began us on this journey of of changing all of our hardback textbooks over to digital textbooks. And this, in turn, caused our textbook cost to go down tremendously.
Right.
So now, through our OER program, which is an open educational resource, whereas our teachers, instructors in each department create their own textbook for that entire department. So we put it on a digital format, and then it's available for the students to use, and it's free. So we can now have in our general studies curriculum, which we now have a majority of our students are in general studies. To kind of help you understand what that in general studies is, the old liberal arts, basically.
Okay.
You know, for people that really don't know what they want to major in, but we get them a degree in general studies. So they can now get a complete associate's degree in general studies and not pay anything for a textbook. Textbooks are free, so they're all digital, they're all OER, and it doesn't cost anything.
Well, it hadn't been that long since I had a son over there, and I can tell you from my point of view, I'm not sure the textbooks didn't cost more than the tuition.
Oh, some of them are $300 and $400.
By the time
you get a Cal book or A&P book, it's very and now they're free.
That's great. And it's working well, and you're happy?
It's working well. We went fully with the iPad initiative, where every student has an iPad in the fall of 2018. So we're actually a little bit starting our second year into the one-to-one initiative. So
do you furnish the iPad, or do they buy it, or how?
They buy the iPad.
Okay,
now,
so it's theirs.
It's on their list of fees.
All right.
Now, if they come in with an iPad already, then we remove that fee, and they can use their own device if they want to. But it has to be an iPad because if you have multiple devices and you have problems if you have to troubleshoot something, because now our faculty must know a lot about a lot of devices, and that's hard to do.
That would be.
So if we have one device, then we have a help desk that the teacher can send the student there. If they have an issue, they can get it fixed and get it back and go after class or whatever. So we use the iPad only as a device on campus.
Now, I know some of the K-12s in the area have done a similar kind of thing or made the effort. Are y'all seeing any benefit from what they're doing yet, or do you think that's on down the line a little bit?
Well, actually, it's helped us a lot in recruiting students for the past 3 years now in a row. And we're the only community college in the state that has this. For the last 3 years in a row, we've had an increase in enrollment. And I think it's because of the technology that we use in the classroom. Because a lot of times if the K through 12 use that same device or use some type of technology in the classroom, they're going to look for an institution where they can go that has similar a delivery system that we have and that they have and they're used to. And we've worked with a couple of school districts already through a program called Bridges, whereas we kind of bridge them over to utilizing the iPad. I know Alcorn County we've met with their entire school district on teaching them how to use the iPad, how to implement it in the classroom. And for each classroom and each subject area is different, but there are so many apps that are available and they're free that the teachers can download and use in the classroom and provide for their students. So yes, we are bridging over to helping K through 12 because when they get out and get a job, there's definitely technology involved in their job, some type. So if they're not prepared for that, then we fail as a higher ed institution of not making those folks employable.
I go see a doctor, and the doctor walks in with his iPad in front of him, or either that or his laptop, or if they don't have it right in front of them, they just left the hallway where they were looking at it. So it's just part of it now.
Absolutely.
Well, another initiative that you have going is what you call the Field of Dreams.
Oh, yes.
So if you build it, they'll come kind of thing. What is the Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams is a baseball softball complex, and it's an $8 million plus project. It is state of the art as far as playing facility. We have it's one facility, but it has a baseball field on one side and a softball field on the other side. And then, of course, it has the concession stand, press box, presidential boxes, and things like that up in the concession stand. So it's going to be It's going to be really, really nice. We've completed the baseball field with the turf, and they're moving over and actually begin laying today the softball field.
Okay.
So we're close to getting to the point where we can actually play on it. So they're looking at mid-November probably, but we would definitely be in there in January to open our 2020 baseball and softball season. So we're excited about it. It not only enhances Northeast. You see, Northeast has never, ever owned a baseball field or a softball field.
Really?
We've always used the city park, baseball and softball, and we've had a lease with the city of Boonville to use their baseball field. And so now this gives us something that we can call home, and in the recruiting aspect of it, it was getting to the point where people were using that against us.
Right.
They were saying, well, you don't want to go to Northeast. They don't even have their own field. But now we've got one of the best I'm one of the best in the country.
And as an ex-athletic director, president, it was easy for you to see that.
Yes, absolutely. And that will help us in a lot of areas. And I wanted to make sure that everything that we did also tied in with the community.
Right.
Because we're a part of the community. It's important that we connect well with every community. Like our New Albany Center connects well with the city of New Albany and Union County. It's important for that to happen. So, in building this for the Boonville campus, it connected us with the community. It's adjacent to the city park, so it just added a lot to the landscape over there.
It sounds great. I know you have a program or something you've initiated called a Success Center.
Absolutely.
Can you explain that to us a little bit?
Absolutely. We looked at our students, and of course, we have a lot of successful students, but as any other institution, whether it be K through 12 or higher ed, there are a lot of students that fall between the cracks. There are a lot of students that drop out. So in order to retain these students that we were looking, and we looked at the numbers that we were losing throughout the year, and it was astronomical. The number of students that started but didn't complete. And so we said, we've got to figure out a way to keep those people engaged and keep them in class and not let them get away from us. So we hired a young lady, Brittany Whitley, actually we hired her from our school down south of us to help us out, because it was the same thing she did there. And she is the director of our Success Center. And what we do is we track every student that misses a class. If they miss a class or they fail a test, then they're flagged, and those students go to our Success Center. We have 3 success coaches now, and along with her, and they constantly are in contact with these students who miss a class, fail a test, any other issue that they might have, whether it be tutoring. If they make a low on a test, they fail a test, our Success Center is notified, and our success coaches contact that student either by email, telephone, whatever, and say, can you come by? Do you want to talk about this test, or you want to talk about something? I'm kind of identify a problem. And a lot of times, it could be something just as simple as I didn't have my book. But now with the digital books, everybody, when they pay their fees, they automatically have their book. So the first day of class, they have their book. So it was just a matter of identifying those students who we were losing in the crack. And we have, last year, we saw 580 students.
In your Success Center?
In our Success Center during the 18-19 school year. And our earned hours increased from 11 hours per semester to 12 and a half hours per student per semester, which from a superintendent standpoint, you would understand this, I guess, but we get reimbursed on credit hours generated.
Oh, okay.
So that generated a little bit over 3,000 more earned hours for us. Plus, in some of the numbers of students that we lost, it increased the number of students that completed. So that increased our reimbursement also. So actually, last year alone, our Success Center created a little bit over $200 and something thousand for the school. So there's a good investment on that part, but the biggest thing is that it saved a lot of students from dropping out, not being able to complete, that type thing. And you know as well as I do, those that drop out, they're at very high risk of becoming on welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, things like that.
Some kind of federal or state assistance.
So this makes them productive, and it makes them feel really good about themselves too. So that's a positive thing.
Now, was your Success Center, is it funded by the regular budget, or is that some kind of separate?
No, it's funded. It's money that we invested in.
And in a way, its results are paying for itself.
It paid its way, yes.
That's great to hear. I also wanted to ask you about, I know you get several different types of students. So let's start with, for instance, high school students. You have a dual enrollment, dual credit program for high school students. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
We probably get about 400 to 500 students that are dually enrolled and dual credit. Now, a lot of people have a misunderstanding about the dual credit and dual enrollment. They think it's all the same thing. To us, it is dual enrollment. But dual enrollment is where a student is enrolled in high school while they're there, and they take college courses, and we teach that. Dual credit is where they take a high school class and one of our classes together as the same class. They get high school credit for it, and then we award college credit for it. So there's two different types there.
Right.
So we get about 500 of our students students that take dual enrolled dual credit students, and those are high school students. Then once we get into the regular enrollment, then we're looking at a wide range of students from anywhere from 18 to 60. A lot of these are people that have unsatisfied with their job. They want to come back to school. A lot of these are found through our workforce, our GED, our adult ed program.
Right.
They're identified through the My Best program, and then they come in, they get their GED, and then they start in a pathway with getting some type of skill.
And that would be your adult ed type program?
Yes.
Okay.
And once they get their GED, then we start them on a pathway to get into a skill. Could be a certificate, could be a 15-hour certificate, a 30-hour certificate, a 45-hour certificate, or even a 60-hour, which is an AA degree. So there's different types of certificates they can get. The big ones there are our career tech programs, because you can get 15 hours or 30 hours in a career tech program. You have a skill now, you can go out and get a really good job. Now, if you want to carry that farther and get an associate's degree with that, you can get even a better paying job. Industrial maintenance right now is a big program that we have. You can graduate with that program in 63 hours and probably make six figures in some places.
Yeah.
So it's very, very good job.
And the last I looked, there was a tremendous need.
Oh, yes.
For the last statistic I heard, and this was a couple of years ago, was like there's 400,000 openings nationwide.
Nationwide. If you'll look, there's a Mississippi Works app that you can look at now, and probably it ranges anywhere from 40 to 52,000 jobs that are available in Mississippi. And we don't have the people to fill those jobs. So That's why we're scrambling with career tech, trying to get those people a skill where they can fill these jobs that the manufacturers and industries are needing very badly.
And nowadays, if someone goes to an interview and they don't have a degree or a certification or something to say they can do something that says they can bring value to they're not just going to take good people who will work hard, who really don't have much training. I mean, is that what you're saying?
Those days are gone.
Because that's how it was when I grew up.
Yeah,
when I came out, if you'd work hard and you would be fairly easy to get along with, they'd train you to do whatever they needed you to do.
Absolutely. If you do not have a skill of some type, it's almost impossible for you to get a really good paying job. You can get a minimum wage job. And the other group that we have is our academic students, which is a large percentage of our students. And those are students that transfer on to a university to to get a BS degree or higher.
Well, we're about out of time, and so what I'd like to do, is there anything in particular you'd like to say to our audience before we sign off?
Well, I'd just like to say on behalf of Northeast and our Northeast family how appreciative we are of not only Union County and New Albany, but also our other 5 counties. We serve 5 counties primarily. We reach out into out of district and get a lot of out of district students. But I just want to say that we're available to assist anyone, any way that we possibly can in moving our students forward, and in the process we're moving Northeast forward, and when we do that we're moving the entire state of Mississippi forward.
Well, I genuinely appreciate you being with us today.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And for Dr. Ricky Ford and Hill Country Network, this is Chuck Garrett saying, I'll see you next time.